The Majapahit Empire rose in Java in the late 13th century and became one of the most powerful kingdoms in Southeast Asian history. At its height, its influence stretched far beyond the borders of modern Indonesia, reaching across much of the Malay archipelago and into parts of mainland Southeast Asia. But Majapahit was not an empire with clearly marked borders like countries today. Its power worked differently. Some territories were directly controlled. Others paid tribute, supplied valuable goods, recognized the authority of the Majapahit court, or maintained diplomatic relationships with the kingdom. To understand how Majapahit became so powerful, we have to go back to the beginning. In 1292, the powerful Javanese ruler Kertanegara was killed during a rebellion led by Jayakatwang, ruler of Kediri. At almost the same time, the Mongol ruler Kublai Khan had sent a military expedition to Java after a diplomatic dispute with Kertanegara. When the Mongol forces arrived, the political situation had completely changed. Kertanegara was already dead. Raden Wijaya, a surviving member of the royal family, saw an opportunity. He allied himself with the Mongols and helped them defeat Jayakatwang. But once Jayakatwang was eliminated, Wijaya turned against his temporary allies. His forces attacked the Mongol army. The Mongols were caught off guard and eventually withdrew from Java. In 1293, Raden Wijaya established a new kingdom. It became known as Majapahit. At first, Majapahit was only one power competing for influence in Java. But Java itself gave the new kingdom enormous advantages. The island had fertile volcanic soil and highly productive rice agriculture. Large agricultural surpluses could support growing populations, armies, craftsmen, merchants, religious institutions, and a powerful royal court. But agriculture was only one part of Majapahit's strength. Java was also positioned near some of the most important maritime trade routes in Southeast Asia. Ships moved between the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea, carrying valuable goods across thousands of kilometers. Spices came from the eastern islands. Gold and forest products came from Sumatra and Borneo. Rice and manufactured goods moved between different parts of the archipelago. Merchants from India, China, Arabia, and Southeast Asia participated in this enormous trading system. Majapahit was located in the middle of it. The kingdom understood that controlling trade did not always require occupying every island. Sometimes political influence over ports and rulers was enough. This strategy became one of the foundations of Majapahit's power. The empire's expansion is strongly associated with one of the most famous figures in Javanese history, Gajah Mada. Gajah Mada rose to become the powerful chief minister of Majapahit, known as the Mahapati. According to later Javanese tradition, he made the famous Palapa Oath. He declared that he would not enjoy certain pleasures until he had brought the Nusantara region under Majapahit's influence. The historical details surrounding the oath are debated, but its importance is clear. Majapahit's ambitions had expanded beyond Java. The kingdom wanted influence across the wider maritime world. Majapahit launched military campaigns, intervened in regional conflicts, established diplomatic relationships, and developed tribute networks. Rulers across different islands could maintain their own governments while still recognizing Majapahit's authority or sending valuable goods to its court. This was a very different system from a modern, centralized state. Majapahit's power was based on relationships, and those relationships could extend across enormous distances. The kingdom reached its golden age under King Hayam Wuruk, who ruled from 1350 to 1389. During his reign, Majapahit became one of the dominant powers in Southeast Asia. Gajah Mada served as his chief minister, and together they presided over a period of remarkable political and cultural influence. One of the most important sources from this period is the Nagara Kritagama, a Javanese poem written in 1365 by the poet Mpu Prapanka. The work describes the reign of Hayam Wuruk and lists numerous places associated with Majapahit's sphere of influence. The geographic reach described in historical sources is extraordinary. Majapahit's network extended across many islands of the Indonesian archipelago and beyond. This is why the empire is sometimes described as being larger than modern Indonesia. But there is an important distinction. Majapahit did not necessarily govern all of these territories directly. When we look at a modern map, we tend to imagine an empire as one continuous block of land. Majapahit was nothing like that. It was a maritime network. At the center was the royal court in Java. Around it were kingdoms, ports, islands, trading communities, and regional rulers. Some are closely connected to the center. Some paid tribute. Some supplied valuable products. Others recognized Majapahit's prestige while maintaining considerable independence. The strength of the empire came from its ability to maintain this network. And at the heart of that network was the capital of Trowulan in East Java. Archaeological discoveries around Trowulan reveal evidence of a sophisticated urban civilization. Researchers have uncovered brick structures, roads, water systems, religious buildings, and other monumental remains. The scale of the remains suggests that Trowulan was a major political and economic center. The capital was surrounded by a society supported by agriculture, trade, craftsmanship, religion, and royal administration. Majapahit was also a center of cultural development. Hindu and Buddhist traditions played major roles in Javanese society, while older local beliefs were incorporated into the religious landscape. Literature flourished during the kingdom's golden age. The Nagara Kertagama remains one of the most important surviving works from the period. The Pararatone is another important source, preserving traditions about Javanese rulers and the history of the kingdom. Architecture and religious art also developed during this period, leaving behind monuments and traditions that would influence Java for centuries. But Majapahit's golden age eventually came to an end. When Hayam Wuruk died in 1389, the kingdom entered a period of political instability. The succession became contested, and rival members of the royal family fought for power. One of the major conflicts was the Per-Greg War. The struggle weakened the central government and damaged the unity of the kingdom. At the same time, the wider Southeast Asian trading world was changing. New Muslim trading states were becoming increasingly powerful along important coastal routes. The Sultanate of Malacca emerged as one of the region's most important commercial centers. Islam spread through many coastal communities, often following the same maritime trade routes that had helped Majapahit become wealthy. Regional rulers also became increasingly independent. As Majapahit's central authority weakened, its network began to fragment. By the 15th century, the kingdom's influence had declined significantly. Its power became increasingly concentrated in Java. Powerful coastal states emerged. Trade routes changed. New political alliances formed. And Majapahit struggled to maintain the enormous network that had once connected much of the maritime region. By the early 16th century, Majapahit had effectively disappeared as a major political power. Its legacy survived. The empire left a lasting mark on Javanese culture, literature, architecture, and political traditions. More importantly, the idea of Nusantara, the interconnected maritime world of Southeast Asia, remained part of the region's historical memory. Majapahit was not simply an empire of conquered territory. It was an empire of islands, ships, trade, diplomacy, tribute, and political influence. Its rulers understood that in a world made up of thousands of islands, power did not always come from occupying land. Sometimes, power came from controlling the relationships between the people who lived on it. For several centuries, Majapahit stood at the center of that maritime world. Its capital eventually fell silent. Its political system disappeared. Its rivals rose. But the story of Majapahit survived. and its legacy remains one of the most remarkable chapters in the history of Southeast Asia.